and sovereign God, we come before you today. The God of righteousness, the God of justice, the God of peace, we come today, oh God, in no other name but the name of Jesus Christ. We come, Lord, putting our Jamaica land we love in your hands. Almighty God, it is your word that says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then and only then you will hear from heaven and heal our land. And Almighty God, without a vision, the people perish. And so today, Lord, we come because Jamaica is weighed down under the weight of corruption. We're polluted, oh God, by cronyism and nepotism. But today, Lord, we come in your name and we say, Lord, rise up leaders like Moses who led the people out of bondage. Rise up leaders like Nehemiah who had a clean hands and clean heart. We pray, God, that you will rescue Jamaica and sound the trumpet in Zion. Sound the alarm, oh God, that Jamaica will understand that you, oh God, cares for the people of this country. And so, Lord, we come against every badmanism. We come against every plans of the enemy. And like David said in the wilderness, you come with spear and javelin. Come in the name of the Lord God of hosts, the army of Israel. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hallelujah.
Eternal Father, I come acknowledging that we have sinned against the people of Jamaica. We have sinned against our fellow man. We have sinned against our family members and relatives. We have sinned against our neighbors, strangers and visitors. We have sinned against the children, the youth and the unborn. We have sinned against the poor and the weak and the elderly and the sick. We have sinned against the free and the imprisoned. We have sinned against those in the care of the state, including the children, the mentally ill, the elderly, the prisoners, and others. We repent, O God, of all our sins committed against these and all persons, local and international, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Represents what the millimeters, 0.1 of a millimeter up to 4 millimeters, but some dark blues into the greens, into the yellows, into the oranges across the southern and eastern parishes. Still, GFS still showing crazy rainfall in the southwest, pushing northward. Euro model still has the system out to sea by 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 12 midnight tonight. So 12 a.m. The Euro still has the system down here. The GFS has the system closer to the coast. So the GFS is stating that the system should have made the turn by then and started to push towards the island, bring crazy rainfall to central and western Jamaica. Then we're moving on to 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 3 a.m. Jamaica time on the Euro. Euro still has actually 3 a.m. Jamaica time on the Euro. Euro still has the system to the southwest of us, but we see crazy rainfall pushing into the south coast, greens, yellows, pinks. That's a lot of rainfall for 3 a.m. If this is true, GFS still has the system to the southwest of us. Crazy rainfall across the entire island. I mean, look at these greens, yellows, oranges, reds, purples. Trust me, all the way up until landfall, we're just going to be getting nailed with strong winds and heavy rainfall. So this is about 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time now. This is 6 a.m. Am I looking at the right map? Hold on there. Yeah, so we just looked at 3 a.m. Now it's time for 6 a.m. now. So we're heading out 3 hours, every 3 hours. Still having the system to the southwest of us according to the Euro. Still having a lot of moisture pushing into the south coast. So you can find your parish and look to see what you're shaded in at that time. GFS coming closer with the system at 6 a.m. Let us look now at the 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time frame, which is actually 9 a.m. Till have the system right here on the Euro, just off the coast of St. Elizabeth, starting to close in now. Moisture right here pushing in from the south to the north across the south coast into the eastern end. GFS about to make landfall at around 10 a.m. if not 9 a.m. Look at the purples that represents the eye wall pushing into Westmoreland, if not Hanover, St. James, already lashed St. Elizabeth at that time. Let us look at what the latest Euro is showing now. So 12Z Euro starting to make landfall with the purples into the reds right here. That's about midday on Tuesday, according to the Euro. GFS has already made landfall. It is right here. The eye is right at the border of St. James and Trelawney. We'll see. We know these models aren't 100% accurate, but they do paint quite the picture of what is to come, and they're clearly in agreement that it should be taking it up into this area from southwest to north across St. Elizabeth, eastern Westmoreland to St. James and Trelawney. It's just a bad situation for the breadbasket parish in general. Clearly a lot of rainfall for the 3 p.m. time frame on the Euro GFS, starting to let up a bit across the southern coastal areas, but we know we can still get some crazy feeder bands coming through. Euro by 6 p.m. on Tuesday still has a lot of rainfall, even though the system should be to the north of us by that time. Still has a lot of rainfall pushing through. GFS has the system to the north of us, still having some blues represent rainfall across the island. 10 p.m., which is 9 p.m. Jamaica time, system north of us, rainfall across section of the island. Still those outer bands. GFS, something similar, but a bit further away from where the Euro has it. We see the blues across the entire island that represents rainfall. And then finally, we're talking about 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, which is actually, midnight on Wednesday morning. And we still have some leftover showers across the island while the system is getting ready to make landfall in southeastern Cuba on the Euro. GFS, what does the GFS show? It doesn't seem like it has it ready, or maybe it didn't load. I wonder what took place. Okay, here it goes. A reload fixed it, getting ready to make landfall in southeastern Cuba, but clearly we still have some moisture to endure. We see the blues here across sections of the island. And the precipitation forecast maps here in agreement that some crazy rainfall totals are still expected. I mean, look at these rainfall totals. And let me remind you that the rainfall that caused the flooding in Kingston on September 19, that crazy rainfall where there was a lot of footage in Crossroads and Uptown and so on, that was just 3 inches of rainfall, 75 millimeters of rainfall. Look at the amount of rainfall that's expected from now up until 3Z Wednesday, which is actually 10 p.m. Tuesday. So all the rainfall is expected from now up until 10 p.m. Tuesday. Look at the purples into the peaches, into the whites, into the blues. That represents what we see here on the key on the right. That's anywhere from 3 all the way up to maybe 15 inches of rainfall. We even see the numbers here, 11 or 12 inches of rainfall in Manchester when it's rounded off, 7.8 in St. James, 7.2 in Trelawney, 5.4 in Western St. Anne, 4.5 in Northeastern St. Anne, 5.5 in Portland, 8.7 in St. Thomas, 8.99 in Kingston. And then the GFS is even more so robust. especially across the southwestern end where the system should be making landfall. 17.66 in Hanover, what looks like is the 16.91 in St. Elizabeth, 15.43 in Manchester, 16.32 in St. James, 11.42 in Trelawney, 9.43 in St. Anne, 8.25 in Northeastern St. Anne, 6.94 in St. Mary, 6.77 in Portland, 6.75 in St. Thomas, 8 inches of rainfall in Kingston, 12.2 in Clarendon. Trust me, all of these live cameras are going to be down for sure. So all of these people who are watching out the live cameras now, just enjoy it while it lasts. The strong winds are going to come. The light is going to go away. The internet is going to go away. The place is going to flood. Hopefully people have some footage before all of this happens that we can see it after everything is said and done. All right, so that is it for now. Thank you all for watching. All right, so I just made the video. Let's get ready to upload it fast because 5 o'clock is fast approaching. And I need to hold on. YouTube.com/app with the Jamaica. If you're new to this channel, please ensure that you subscribe. Okay. Subscribe to the channel. We have 2,200 people watching now. Subscribe. We were just recording a video for the YouTube channel. So I was multitasking. I'm live streaming now while I'm recording a video. Okay. Yeah. So now it's time to upload the video. You're basically seeing how we do things over here with the Jamaica. So I hope you enjoyed that video. That might just be the last video I post for the longest, while considering that the system is getting ready to lash us. So let me close all of these tabs and get ready to put the video out quickly. We're talking about fast. Upload the video fast. Okay. So only a couple of minutes left until the video is finished uploading, because I want to get the hold on there. I need to put the mic out of the way. So bear with me, please. I'm trying to move quickly. So we should upload it to everywhere. I want this satellite image. I'm loading up Canvas. Okay, good. So give me a second, please. I'm trying to get this video out before 5 o'clock. I wonder if I can do it. Do I have the capability of doing that? Let us see. All right, this right here. This right here, yes. Quick, 7 seconds left before the video is done uploading. I love this fast internet. I don't want anything to happen to it at all. This hurricane is gonna set back the entire island. My God. All in Western Jamaica have fast internet. Boy, I only hope that if anything, you know, all of these light posts on the road with the light wires, more than likely something can be done so that they can, you know, learn to do a new way of extending these, that people aren't affected like that. All right, Melissa's Monday afternoon, October 27, 2025 update. Focus for Tuesday, well, for Monday evening into Tuesday. That is what I should have said. Monday evening, October 27, 2025, as well as Tuesday, October 28, 2025. Good. So the next thing that's left to get is the timestamps. So give me a second. Before I do that, let me get the camera ready. Quick, fast. All right, this right here. Okay. screenshot, then canvas fast. Quick, upload quick, done. Okay, should be ready. Melissa, no, one L in Melissa. Melissa, Monday afternoon update. It's too long. All right, so this is what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to make this small and the same size as. Okay, there we go. Right about there. White. Then effects, shadow, transparency. Melissa, right? Did I spell Melissa right, guys? Yes. Let's see. Yes, Melissa. For some reason, it looked funny a while ago. It's a Monday afternoon update. All right, let's go. I'm gonna screenshot this, and then here we go. This is a Monday afternoon update. Screenshot. Quick. Don't tell Canvas to me I do this, please. All right, so let's get the timestamps now and then push the video out quick. 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 Hurry up. 5 o'clock I come. No matter of fact, this can't move now. Because I'm gonna record, and this can go to hiding and turn back to Vista in preparation for Weather Channel. All right, so now it's time to get the timestamps for this video. Quick. So here's the video that was just recorded. Now it's time to get the timestamps. Quick.
Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this multi-point of international weather very specific.
Quick.
Alright, so
On
taking a
18.
look at the US National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather look.
Projected path. Quick. Latest projected path. The 4 p.m. update. Quick. Here it goes. 7:33. Melissa's wave and wind forecast.
Done with her as soon as she makes her money.
12.
There are some crazy ways that are expected.
47. Then predicted path from the latest Uran GFS. Quick. 1509. Quick. Then the total accumulated precipitation over the next 3 to 7 days.
With regards to what is going to be agreement, they're in consensus with regards to what is going to be taking place, and as such, we were in
1632.
from the Hurricane Center. Still showed a lot of rainfall expected for us, especially if you're that's at the point of
It's actually the next 3 days. And then current conditions across Jamaica. Alright, here we go.
A lot of flood rainfall. So let's see what's happening now. The latest visual shows the entire island
And feedback, and then rainfall forecast for Monday night and Tuesday. So 23. And it look like a 24. All right, hurry up now. Okay, 24. 2406. Aye, that's it. Done. YouTube, your turn now. Hurry up. Hurry up and process the video. YouTube and hurry up and start out everything we need to start out. You see, I move fast than YouTube, you know. Because I don't know people do videos. You have people out there put video in a movie maker. And you know, by the time you edit video and video for encode and process and all this something there, the weather not change. And therefore I understand. So let's say how me do videos. So I'm done before even YouTube. So the video is still being sorted out. So let me get the comment from now. I want this comment right here. Fast. Because there's something that will come out, right? So I want this comment right here. I want the what name? Let me get the one from yesterday. Fast. Nope. Quick. This. Nope. The other one from yesterday. Quick. Right here. This. So this is the same caption I'll be using to post this video. We just post a brand new video on our YouTube channel covering the latest on Melissa as of this Monday afternoon, October 27, 2025, and what will happen tonight and on Tuesday. Watch now for the newest updates on what's next for Jamaica. All right, so just the link, leave to post in that. So let me get you YouTube. As a matter of fact, YouTube, I'm gonna post YouTube last because it's already uploaded, and then you're gonna get the notification. So let me get that. Let me get Facebook. Let me get tired if I upload it on Instagram, you know. Tired. Instagram just weird. I hate Instagram. Yet Instagram as a website, you know, like you just can copy the link. Yesterday the thumbnail will come up on Twitter or on Facebook or Threads. Why we can't do that on Instagram? You do that and not show up. If I post the video itself. All right, so let me upload the video in the meantime. So the weather channel is gonna talk shortly. Let me get this ready. Let me get this ready. Let me get the post ready. Let me get this that I posted this morning ready. And let me get the TikTok upload ready. All right, so this can X off, this can X off, this can X off. And then we can go to the weather channel and hear what they have to say about Melissa. Because they're gonna go live short. Well, they're gonna talk shortly about it. So is everybody still here and paying attention? Wagwan. No good on a dip on. You're welcome, Ziggy Smalls. No problem, boss. Well on there. YouTube media with panel. 20 minutes left. Come on, YouTube, hurry up. Hurry up. Time is 3:58. All right, we're that channel ready. So I'm gonna start recording. Sure.
Is Morgan to your help?
All right, then so ready. Let's wait. Let us wait for them. Let us wait for them. Still uploading. Waiting to upload. Not hear nothing out of this. Hoping I start making a nice one, me. Okay, it muted. Good. Getting ready for that, and that can be done later. So, here we go. Weather Unfiltered has begun. Pay attention, people.
Basin.
And its mission was before Melissa strengthened into the Category 5 storm it is right now.
And the turbulence inside of Melissa's eyewall earlier today was so severe, it forced one of the NOAA Hurricane Hunter planes to leave the storm early. A rare
of areas where we could see some feet of rain. Now that's not, or excuse me, some feet of storm surge, and not even accounting the rainfall that's out there. Obviously, if we're going to get some swells moving in as well, we're just not expecting the most significant storm surge on the north side of the island. But feet of storm surge for places like Negril and Montego Bay are absolutely still in the forecast based on the intensity of this storm. Brownstown and St. Anne, tropical storm force winds have moved in. Okay, thank you very much for that. Linstead again here, central side of the island. Again, based on this track, we would likely get right on the edge of hurricane force winds sustained over 74 miles an hour or greater, but gusts that could be much higher than that, well over 100 miles an hour. So significant wind impacts would still be felt even as far east as Linstead. And I would put Kingston in this as well. Spanish Town, Portmore, Halfway Tree, Old Harbor, Hayes, Maypen, anywhere within this cluster. Even if you're just slightly more than 30 miles away from that center, we're still likely to get some sustained hurricane force winds, certainly gusts that will be over 100 miles an hour from time to time. Again, very destructive winds, rainfall, higher elevations that could produce significant amounts of ice of flooding, especially into the low-lying areas, catastrophic flooding, guys. Feet of rain likely in these areas, 12, 15, 20 inches of rain, maybe locally up to 25 and 30, 500 millimeters of rain, 675 millimeters of rain as a storm total in some of these areas. If the storm were to track slightly farther west, potentially, we could be talking about lowering the maximum wind here in the Linstead area. But, at this point in time, we're close enough to where that core is going to be where, we are likely to see at least some borderline hurricane force sustained winds of over 74 miles an hour, and certainly gusts that would likely still go above 100. One second here, guys. As I said, we're working with our friends behind the scenes. Okay. Lamar. Again, you know, unfortunately, the southwest side of the island at this point in time would be the part of the island that would experience the most direct impacts from the storm. You know, with the track trying to come back into the southwest side of the island. So Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth parishes, you know, would likely get the brunt. Obviously, Lamar being near the coast, on the coast, would likely also get a lot of storm surge as well. There will be a difference in some ways as to the strength of the winds with the storm, right? If it's right over Lamar, east of Lamar, or off towards the west. Again, a east track from Lamar is slightly better because you're on the weaker side. But with these kinds of winds, as I've mentioned many times, and I will continue to do so to make sure that the messaging is out there, guys, with these kinds of winds, they're destructive throughout the entire hurricane force environment, right? You know, 30 miles west, 30 miles east, all of those winds are going to be destructive. Sure, the inner core winds near the center of circulation within that 10-mile radius will be the strongest, but the impacts from a Category 5 hurricane, wind-wise, will be felt far and wide. With the storm surge, again, if the storm tracks east of you, you're likely to get a 6 to 9 foot storm surge in Lamar. If it tracks west, if it wants to try and brush the coast of the island towards the Grill or any areas there, Lamar area would have more of a south wind and more direct storm surge impacts. In the short term, there's absolutely been a little bit of jog west, right? But again, you know, these storms, they bobble, right? And I've been watching this all day. If you guys have as well, we've had bobbles and turns and twists because the storm is moving so slowly. Erratic movement in the short term is expected, right? We don't expect this storm to go in a straight line when it has 175 mile an hour winds and it's moving at 3 miles an hour. It would be great if the track west continues, but that's not what is forecast right now, okay? Now, again, farther west track, even in the short term, will do a couple of things. Sure, you know, the Hurricane Center may look at this and the newer model information that's coming in, and I'll keep an eye on it. And maybe they do see enough of an appreciable shift where they want to take this line and move it a little bit farther west. But the question is, given the fact that we're 14 to 18 hours away from landfall, you know, how much farther west do they expect it to go, with still the vast majority of the model data showing a direct landfall to the island? Okay, that's number one. Number two is, you know, again, the appreciable differences that it's going to make on the island, which could not be very significant, and in some areas even more impactful if the storm stays just slightly off towards the west. Remember, the right front quadrant, or the northeast side of a storm like this, is the most dangerous part of the hurricane. And unfortunately, that is the quadrant of the storm that will sit over the island for the longest duration. Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for your $1.99 super thanks. Big friend of the channel, moderator, is always here helping things out. Let's get the hearts out for Fiona, for Rhea Eagle Wings, who also went nuts with the super stickers and the super thanks, and Jim as well. Thank you, Jim. appreciate all the support of the channel. If you guys want to do me a favor and hit that like button for me, that also helps as well. The biggest thing I would ask you to do, though, is to share this information with anyone who thinks going to get anything out of it, right? Let them know about what we've been discussing, whether that's just letting them know or giving them a link to the channel and saying, hey, if you want to join in, this is what I'm watching right now as far as coverage of the storm. So I appreciate you guys for doing so. So, and I keep getting the same questions, and I absolutely understand why. And I'm going to do my best to continue to answer those. And again, our chat moderators can jump in. Timing wise for the storm, any jog west.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution as they return to the streets.
Hamas on a rampage, executing Palestinians, bloody crackdown, spreading terror. For freedom, not terror, Hamas must go.
Jersey Mike's freshly slices it right in front of you. The authentic Jersey way. You can't fake that. And look, you can fake a lot of stuff these days. You can fake my outfit, but you can't fake freshly sliced turkey. You can fake these haunches, but you can't fake freshly sizzled bacon. Nay, you just can't fake a freshly sliced Jersey sub. It's nice to be back in my real body. Number 13, please. Made the authentic Jersey way since 1956. It's a Jersey Mike's thing. A sub above.
Out rather than going due north, right? So that's the shorter time frame to get to the island. A west and then turn to the east, north, east and northeast is a little bit longer duration. So my feeling based on what I'm seeing right now is we're likely to not have landfall until we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow morning. More than likely, landfall won't occur until daybreak tomorrow morning. Again, if it does, still the highest probability. But, grant you that there is a plausible scenario where this brushes the west side of the island, right? Which again, that's better for the east side of the island, but the west side of the island would still see about the same impacts. Again, the storm is massive, guys. We'll take a look at the size coming up. I want you to understand how large and how wide the destruction is going to be with a storm of this magnitude. It's probably hard to fathom, right? Just because you're 50 and 75 miles from landfall, you are likely to see destructive impacts from this storm. But this is the arrival time for the hurricane force winds. At the very earliest, it's late tonight and more than likely during the overnight hours. Again, hurricane conditions will move in before the actual eye approaches. We are forecasting, the Hurricane Center has discussed this, an increase in forward speed to some degree starting later tonight and especially overnight. So this timing is based on the fact that it's creeping at 3 miles an hour right now, but it is likely to pick up a little bit of forward speed in the short term and especially overnight. Then traversing the island throughout the day on Tuesday and more than likely exiting the island, on the northern side sometime late Tuesday. Again, give or take a few hours here. Part of that is just based on how far west that it wants to track before it, ultimately is forecast to come back to the north. I appreciate that, Stacy. Thank you very much. Listen, I understand everyone being nervous, okay? I grew up on the west coast of Florida. Guys, I've been through storms. Now, I will grant you, I have not been through a Category 5, but when I was a teenager, I went through a storm, and it wasn't even a hurricane. It was the no-name storm of 1993 that flooded out our house with salt water, completely flooded the house, not feet of water, but enough, and it was salt water where we had to leave the home for 6 months. So I know what it feels like to have that helpless feeling, right? And to, and to be displaced, and, my heart breaks for my friends on Jamaica. My heart breaks for what's going to more than likely happen in Southeast Cuba. We'll have to really monitor the situation in the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. The flooding ongoing right now in Haiti is destructive, and it's life altering, right? The best that we can do is understand what's happening and be as prepared as we possibly can. It's the best we can do, right? To try and shelter as much as we can and to hope the impacts are as little as possible. We hope for that, but we also prepare for the worst. And this storm is of the worst magnitude when we have winds of 175 miles an hour, a storm that has a pressure as low as 906 millibars and a northwest wind at around 3. Have you guys felt that, by the way? Have you guys felt the weight of that air in Jamaica yet? You know, where that pressure begins to lower? Let me know. Roger says starting to get some tropical storm strength winds here, Brownstown and St. Anne. So there you go. Fort Myers is in the house. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is in the house. Appreciate you guys. South Florida. Oh, well, Andrew is kind of the benchmark for Florida, right? You know, we've had some sense, you know, Irma, Helene, Milton of most recent. But, you know, Andrew was that first big one, you know, that a lot of folks, you know, remember. And obviously back in time, there were strong ones as well. You know, Jamaica has had their own history of significant hurricanes as well. All the numbers that you see, by the way, if you're unclear, are wind gusts in miles an hour. So just continuing to monitor that. The latest statistics from Melissa on the top of your screen. Again, this storm has gotten nothing but stronger and stronger and stronger, right? Now, certainly, again, in the short term, there has absolutely been a jog west. No doubt about it. So if we look at, and this is a 6-hour loop, right? So at noon today, Eastern time, so 11:14 a.m. on the island, we were tracking certainly in a west-northwest fashion. Then we got here, and again, it hasn't been long. You know, you might think it's been long, but just in the last 2 hours, there's been a little bit of a turn west, okay? Now, if I show you guys the track over the last several days, really since the beginning of the storm, right? But if we were to look here and draw a straight line to where the center is now, latitude-wise, it's about the same. But look at the plot points and what it took to get there, right? These storms, when they get strong and they're moving very slowly, they're big time wobblers, okay? So the thing that I will always point out in this scenario, when you're looking and hoping that a storm is moving in a direction that is not closer to you, is that we have to look at that in a longer term trend. A couple of hours of a storm moving, you know, 75, 90 degrees on the compass west or in a different direction than what the forecast is, doesn't ultimately mean that that's where it's going to keep going. Has to be over a much longer duration. But I'll continue to monitor the trends of the models as well. As a matter of fact here, real quickly, just behind the scenes, I'm going to bring up the latest Google DeepMind and see if we got a new update there. We do have the 12, okay, perfect. Now I can show you guys this. It'll take a second. So I'll show you guys this as soon as I can get it on the air. But the Google DeepMind, just so you know, the latest forecast has all 50 members with a direct landfall to Jamaica, okay? It shows this west jog and then a turn north and a turn northeast, very similar to the Hurricane Center. So again, it's the newest one, you know, obviously it's a little old because it takes some time to get the data in, but there hasn't been an appreciable shift west on the Google DeepMind. And I will effort to get that up to you guys here shortly. I'm going to one thing I do want to look at here real quickly. You know, just real quick for my friends in the Bahamas, the consensus central line here would be like between Long Island and the Acklands, which I think is about where the Hurricane Center has it right now as well. All right, so I'll effort to get that up to you. Hey, Discovery Bay having light rains. Appreciate that. Good evening, Lockums. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, welcome to anyone just tuning in. Appreciate you guys. You know, we're here for you guys in the long term. We're on right now. We'll talk about our coverage coming up, but you know, obviously we're going to be on for a significant time as the storm approaches, and we'll discuss that. Part of how I'm going to play when I'm on live is going to be dependent on just how slowly this thing wants to churn, right? You know, but we're on for you right now. Portmore with some light rain. I'm very sorry to hear about your father. Wishing the best for him. Yeah, well, the temperature drops a bit as the extra cloud coverage and the rain begins to move in. So sure, I mean, it is, you know, it is part of the situation with these storms because there's just a lot of moisture coming in, and things will be a little bit cool from time to time. That breeze can be on the chillier side as well. All right, I want to try and get you guys this latest Google DeepMind here. It won't take too long, I don't believe. I will be answering chat as we move along too. Sweet Sugar City in St. Kitts. Well, appreciate the thoughts. Thank you, Keith. Love to hear from all of my Media Mundo community as well. I mean, obviously, this channel is dedicated for forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, times of impact for weather. I'm going to go on live and cover this. Hopefully, you guys on Jamaica remember me from Barrow last year. If you tuned in for that coverage and you're tuning back in again this year, first of all, welcome. You know, please join us at quieter times as well. We generally have a lot of fun on the channel, so we hate to do, you know, only just the worst times. You know, come join us during the daily forecast updates and drop some comments as well. But appreciate all those who have found the channel either previously or very recently during this storm. Again, we're going to get you covered here. We've got some live reports on the island to come your way, monitoring the situation for Jamaica and other areas down the road, including Cuba and portions of Hispaniola, Turks and Caicos, and the Bahamas as well. Yeah, throw those hearts out in chat. I appreciate that. All right. Give me just one more second here. I'm going to throw that into my system. Now, you guys are seeing our moderators and our administrator dropping some questions into chat. You know, a couple of things first. If you want to answer those questions, that's great because, you know, we love to get an idea of what's happening. But they're also heads up, right? Things you should be thinking about, right? Do you know where your nearest shelter is? Do you have an evacuation plan? Have you secured the objects in your yard? Things like that. Maybe you weren't exactly thinking about them or they weren't top of mind, but you're seeing them ask us questions here. Maybe that's a nice reminder. So use that as kind of a checklist, if you will. You can go back and look at our admin questions that you guys have seen, and it gives you an idea of the things you should be preparing for. I mentioned this in yesterday's video as well. I hope that everyone who is on daily medication has a good supply of that, right? Because again, you know, when this storm hits, right, we're going to lose communication, we're going to lose internet, we're going to lose power, we're going to have roads that might be impassable for days, right? Depending on the amount of water that floods those areas, the debris that could be over some of those areas, and even some roadways that could be washed out. So traveling could be impeded or not even possible for days and days and days. And, you know, businesses could continue to be closed. Without power, we're not pumping gas. So you get the idea that the infrastructure problems that a storm like this can cause can have appreciable impacts to your life. And if you're on a medication that is very important to you on a daily basis, you want to make sure you have a supply to get you through this storm. All right, hopefully we'll get that in just a second. Let's check back in with See Jamaica. Again, you can find them on YouTube. just looking at a quick shot of what they've got. This is from Flatbridge. Now this is, you know, again, an area where we'll start to see the water level rise and debris that could, you know, clog up underneath that flat bridge, and certainly the water level could go over that bridge, and there could be debris, and the bridge could be closed, and all that is, you know, a possible scenario here. This is a live look to Halfway Tree, I believe, and again, you know, quiet right now as far as the winds go. Not much of a breeze there at this point in time. Obviously, things are wet, but we don't really have a significant squall right now, and you know, some folks on the roadways. Hopefully things will be, you know, okay there in the short term. A little bit quieter overall, but not a lot of activity on the streets, which is what I like to see, because even though things are quiet right now, we want to be sheltering in place, right? We don't want to have a lot of active, you know, activity outside, because, you know, we just don't know when that next squall might want to be approaching. So the Halfway Tree Transport Center there. Again, see Jamaica on YouTube if you guys want to check out a little bit more of live cameras there across the island. All right, so let's see if we got our new Google DeepMind up here. All right. I'm actually looking at the old one here. Try and force it in. All right. I'll bring it to you as soon as I possibly can, I promise. Let me get back over to the chat. Watching from the Cayman Islands. Melissa is still drifting westward. Can you say anything on that? Well, again, I've talked about it for a while because everyone is noticing it, and I am too, right? There's absolutely a turn to the west in the short term. It looks like it might even be bobbling south, you know. But again, when you have a storm, okay, when you have a storm that has 175 mile-an-hour winds and the steering currents are still very light, bobbles, shifts in the track in the short term is expected, right? So it is interesting, to say the least, that has turned west for the last 2 hours. But is that a little bit of a bobble, or is that really a trend? Again, you know, the overall outlook of the wind profile around this storm as far as steering currents go, let me just be able to do this one more time. Bring up the telestration here, but I also want to bring up this trough. So why is it expected to do the turn to the north and eventually to the north and to the east, right? Great question. Well, I can't. All right. I'm going to get one of those little pins is what I'm going to get. What I wanted to do here is I wanted to give you a little bit broader view first. All right. We got a trough coming in through the eastern side of the United States. Okay. Let me show you the surface winds associated with that. So I'm going to bring on surface winds. Okay. We'll walk through this together. Understanding, right? Understanding that, you know, funky things can happen. But do you notice that in the Gulf, the winds are beginning to turn out of the north now, right? And that you notice that we had an area of high pressure here, but now the wind field is beginning to get a little bit more muddied on the east side as this trough moves in. There is here, and if I go over to, you have to give me a little bit here. Do this. I am working on the fly here. Right. You go away. Let's go to 500 millibars. Okay. So do you guys see how at 500 millibars, mid-levels of the atmosphere, right? We'll get a little bit scientific, that's fine. You guys see how these winds are beginning to turn out of the southwest, okay? And you notice that the other 500 millibar winds are here with Melissa because Melissa is so vertically stacked, right? It's showing up in the models because of its wind field. But ultimately what that's happening is it's allowing a weakness to form in the ridge and should give this a bit of an escape route to the north, right? So the ridge is breaking down here, and all of these southwest winds are going to be dropping in, likely to pick up the storm and push it along, right? That's the forecast after sitting in between two areas of high pressure for the last 5 days. You know, the eroding of the ridge, the weakness to the north, the trough coming in, and the pickup of the storm. If I clear this off, again, there's like 2 steps that I have to do every time, and I'm going to have a word with the Chris. But if I just zoom in again, right, and I come over here to the discussion. So this is the scientific part of what the Hurricane Center puts out every 6 hours. Okay, so let me find this here. All right. And you guys can read this paragraph with me if you want to, but let me read this. Melissa is starting its north turn, and the initial motion is now northwest at 315 degrees at 3 knots. The mid-level ridge north of Melissa continues to weaken as a deep layer mid-latitude trough moves eastward through the southeast United States into the southwest Atlantic. This should cause the hurricane to turn northward during the next 6 to 12 hours at a continued slow forward speed after 18 hours. So as we get into early on Tuesday morning, Melissa should turn northeast with a slight increase in forward speed as the mid-latitude westerly flow becomes the dominant steering mechanism. A continued northeast motion with a significant increase in forward speed is expected from 36 hours through the end of the forecast period. Okay, so on the forecast track, the center of Melissa will be near or over Jamaica late tonight or Tuesday, eastern sides of Cuba Tuesday night and early Wednesday, and then move through the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos on Wednesday. So that's the discussion of what we just talked about, right? So that's what the models are picking up on. Again, you know, why are the spaghetti plots of the hurricane models showing the track that it has? Why is the Google DeepMind still showing all 50 members over the island? Because that is the scenario in the atmosphere that they feel like is steering this storm. Can things change? Can there be features that are stronger or weaker than what is forecast in the models? Absolutely. That's why it's not an exact science, right? It's not. But we have a very narrow window of time for this storm to do something outrageously different than what the models are showing. As you guys know, the cone of uncertainty widens over time. The forecast error widens over time because the models aren't as skillful deeper in time. That being said, they've gotten a lot better. I mean, they've gotten a lot better. Intensity-wise, they're still struggling with these storms, but track-wise, they really have gotten a lot better. Now, we'll see how this plays out. Okay, we'll see if this west turn continues. You know, we would have to get this storm to be at least 30 miles west of Jamaica to really have significant differences in what the central and the eastern side of the island would see. But even a track 30 miles to the west, and that is allowing for a big swing west at this point in time when your storm, right, is very generously, as far as I could keep going with this, 350 miles wide, you know, double the size of Jamaica. The tropical storm force inner core winds, which are likely over 100 miles an hour, are 157 miles wide, right? You know, so you get your sustained hurricane force winds, hurricane force winds out 30. You get your 50 to 74 mile an hour winds, probably in this 150 mile an hour range, right? 150 mile range. That's basically the width of the island. So you would have to have a storm that really goes much farther west for us to be talking about lower impacts out east, and even in the central or the western side of the island, still very significant impacts. You know, unfortunately, this storm is just that powerful. It's just that strong. It's just that big. Does that make sense to everyone? Let me know. If that explanation, you know, was understood, please let me know. I'm happy to continue to talk about it. Hey, Vancouver, how you doing? I mean, you know, obviously, you know, there's all kinds of structural infrastructure on Jamaica, concrete buildings. We do have some wooden frames. We have metal frames, metal roofs. You know, there are different varieties of infrastructure, but you know, even the most significant infrastructure with a storm of this magnitude is subject to extreme damage, right? You know, whether that's complete structural failure or not, you know, with some of the strongest, hardened infrastructure, that's not.
Hi, I'm Jamie Helm. I am owner of Wicked Wrench Company in South Elgin, Illinois. I had a customer come in with a naturally aspirated engine, and they were looking for reliable performance with minimal maintenance. Of course, I recommended Bosch double platinum spark plugs because they're engineered for up to 3 times longer service life than standard copper plugs. These spark plugs are great for engines with high operating temperatures like naturally aspirated engines and sports cars. They're pre-gapped, they don't require anti-seize, and the torque specs are right on the box. The 360-degree continuous laser-welded platinum center electrode improves ignitability, and the platinum tip on both electrodes ensures exceptional durability.
Thank you, Farah. Now, again, look, there is room for error here, and that would be fantastic. But you know, there's the science behind why it is likely to do what hurricane. Consistent there. It does look like potentially a little bit of a contraction of the eye in the very short term. We'll see if that's just a little bit. And there's still a ton of lightning around this storm too, the eye. Ton of lightning. You know, maybe the eye is more like 8 miles wide now from 10. If I go back out here, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably shrunk by about 2 miles. Not a lot, but a little bit of a shrinkage in the eye. Again, you know, fluctuations within this inner core structure happen all the time. You know, from here, what happens, we'll have to watch, right? You know, does the storm look? We've talked about this before, guys. Hurricanes this size, this intense, they can't stay this strong forever. They kind of blow their top a little bit, right? And they are likely to fluctuate in intensity and potentially weaken some, right? So to stay of a hurricane of 175 for an extended time is not likely. This storm is likely to go under some structural changes where the maximum sustained winds reduce a bit. But again, appreciably, what impacts is that going to have on Jamaica? Is it going to really bring, winds that are much significantly less to really cause any differences? I'll continue to discuss the fact that, any structure that will fail in 160 mile an hour sustained winds is very likely to fail at 140 mile an hour sustained winds and is very likely to fail at 120
looking at visible. I chose visible blue. Well, I can't find the satellite or the radar on Radar Omega. And I have the rights to show you Radar Omega. I can't just show every app. Anyways, not going to worry about it for right now. Here, let's look at the Tropical Tidbits satellite. That is the satellite from Tropical Tidbits. It almost looks like one of our viewers said, like right at the end, it looks like it's going back to the east. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. In case you missed it, the aircraft Hurricane Hunter just went through the eye and got some pressure readings, 912, 910, which is not lower than 906. Interestingly, we don't seem to be getting, what does it say? Flight level wind peak 145 knots. I think I read something last night that said sometimes you can estimate the surface wind by subtracting 10% from the flight level wind. So 145 knots is 166 miles an hour. So if you subtract 10%, that'd be about 150. The thing I don't know is there's going to be multiple passes through. Oh, it's not even all the way through yet. I should hold my, it hasn't even gotten, it looks like there's going to be another peak of flight level wind as it keeps moving through. So we should wait till the next update actually for the wind. But it's possible that one of the other passes it makes through the eye, it'll show stronger winds or lower pressure. Oh, so here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I need to do. So what I'm going to do is I need about 5 minutes. So I'm going to put one of the cams on. I'm going to show you a little more of the press briefing from today. I'm going to put that on as I just take 5 minutes here, and then I'll be right back. Hold on. What I need to do is do it. So we want to put that there. Okay, that's there. Oh, no, here we have to do it this way. We have to get this on the screen. There, but we want to shrink this here. Then we want to put this. That's not it. There. All right, earlier today for the press briefing, you're seeing rainfall in Kingston on the live shot. And then I have to put myself up that I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Where did I have that before? Steve will be back in 5 minutes. So give me about 5 minutes. I'm going to play some of the press briefing here from earlier from Jamaica. Give me about 5 minutes and I will reappear.
And so we thank you and we thank the teams that are out there working with the NWA. We are now going to move to Minister Vaz. Everybody wants to know what's going on. We know the airports are closed. Energy. transportation, telecoms.
Morning. I'm moving away from saying good morning. And from now until whenever we recover, I will just say, Almighty Father, spare us. Let me start with some of what I've said before. The airports remain closed until such time as the hurricane passes. The toll booths are all open, all, both on the east-west and the north-south, not just on the main, but on the exits as well. And those will remain open until such time as the recovery.
Practically, what difference does that make wherever this wants to go? Not much. We got power at Savlamar. St. James still have lights. Got power at Falmouth. It's good. It's good to have many of you still saying you have power. Okay, Lucy has power. Now the water is gone. That's another thing, right? Thank you, Marlon, for that. Water gone in Unity Hills, St. James. You know, power is obviously one of the major utilities, but we've got, water. We've got internet service as well. We'll see how sporadic that goes. Justin, he's got Starlink where he's at, so luckily for us, he might still be able to send us some updates, even though he's lost power, and even if the internet goes down in the Treasure Beach area. Power in Sandy Bay, power in Southwest Westmoreland as well. All right, let me see here real quick, guys, while we're just having a nice chat. Again, just going to check if we've got the fortunately. All right. Houston is in the house. Eduardo from Belize, good to see you as well. Power in Santa Cruz. Still a Cat 5. By the way, the numbers that you see are the latest update from the Hurricane Center. That was a full update at 5 o'clock. Winds are 175 right now, okay? An impressive monster hurricane. Pressure's down to 906. The official movement at 5 o'clock was northwest at 3, but we can all see with our eyes that there has been a big wobble with this storm to the west and even slightly south of west as we've gotten into the 6 and 7 o'clock hours here, Eastern Daylight Time, 5 and 6 o'clock hours during the Jamaica time as well. So an hour behind Eastern Daylight Time. Old Harbor is in the house. Clouds starting to get really dark out there in St. James. I hear you. Again, we're keeping an eye out on all of our friends of the channel who are over the island. Want to take you again and show you that latest report from Justin in the Treasure Beach area here. Again, here's what was happening on Treasure Beach in the southwest side of the island just a little bit ago.
Okay, Monday, October 27th, Great Bay Treasure Beach. The time is 8 a.m. It's definitely getting loud outside now. The waves are definitely much bigger, more frequent waves as well. I would say about an extra 2 feet of sand has been brought up the beach and dumped. Let's have a look. Okay. Yeah, the frequency of the waves are definitely picking up here.
So time to leave now, guys. Watch out, the water reaching at the HQ. And we are leave now. We are take the warning. The white house never real, guys. You see, we take a video, come, make we go on and go lock up. Better be safe than sorry. So, guys, the water reaching at the HQ already. So we are leave and go to higher ground. We are going at the Airbnb. Watch ya. Watch ya. Tell me what. You what? How? Me not looking on. I better left them out there. We'll leave now, guys. No joke. The breeze and the rain are coming here now. It's not a good look. So, guys, stay tuned. We've come to the end of this wonderful video. Stay tuned and big up on yourself as always.
Hey, Rusty and guys over at Medio Mundo. It's October 27th, it's Monday, and I'm down by Palisades. You can see the weather dome over there. That's the airport. You see that we still have the same storm surge coming in. Not sure if you can hear me with the wind. We've been getting tropical storm gusts so far. A few trees down, light poles here and there. Nothing major yet.
Okay, I appreciate Justin, the Cameron family, and Alex for telling the stories there on Jamaica. Again, Justin in the Treasure Beach area, the Cameron family, the Old Harbor Bay area, and Alex for that video. He was in the Palisades area of Kingston there on the shoreline, just kind of giving you guys the flavor of what's happening. Again, you know, we're reaching out to those, trying to get additional live streams and updates. And obviously, again, you know, communication, even at this point in time, is a little bit spottier, but we're going to have some more from those three, and we appreciate that. And again, just trying to tell the story of what's happening right now. And obviously, as the storm begins to move a little bit more closer to the island, and obviously, if we do have direct impacts, which again is the extremely likely scenario with this powerful hurricane just offshore, you know, the aftermath of the storm as well. We're not just going to, you know, leave our friends here in Jamaica. I mean, obviously, this channel is dedicated to Caribbean and Bahamas forecasting. And, you know, we certainly discussed the aftermath of the storm. If you guys lived through Beryl last year, you know, a lot of the updates that we did from, you know, again, you know, how the recovery efforts were going there. I remember we did it in the Windward Islands as well. So we got you covered beginning, during, and even after the storm. And I do want to make note of this, that, again, if you're just tuning in, we'll continue to monitor what's happening with Beryl in the short term and this, you know, wobble west, we'll just call it that for now. But down the road, the fact that Southeast Cuba is under a hurricane warning with likely major hurricane impacts and a storm surge of over 10 feet in some spots of Southeast Cuba, and rainfall totals that could be 10 to 20 inches and locally up to 25 for places like Santiago de Cuba, Holguin, and the Guantanamo area, and then moving into the islands here, where we, again, just to double check, I believe this has been upgraded to hurricane warning, right? I don't want to... Yeah, okay, so it has been. So again, hurricane warning now for the central and the southeast sides of the Bahamas, and that is still going to be a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for Turks and Caicos. So the hurricane warning now for Cat Island and Exuma and Long Island and Rumkey and San Salvador, the Acklins and Mayaguana and Nagua, and then Turks and Caicos, it's going to be a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning. And again, these areas, you know, are already picking up 35, 40 mile an hour winds, even some gusts there in Grand Turk right around 30. The inundation of water and the flooding continues for the western sides of Hispaniola. They're under a tropical storm warning at this point in time. Port-au-Prince, every day this week, you know, well, what I mean by week is like over the last 5 days, late last week, over the weekend, and on this Monday, they've just had this consistent 25, 30 mile an hour wind with all of this onshore flow and the significant rain, feet of rain for the peninsula, Torres Lacai, for the southern sides of the DR as well, Azua, Bajarona, Santo Domingo, La Romana, San Pedro de Macorís, Punta Cana. Very significant rain here, multiple areas of significant flooding, catastrophic flooding, and life-threatening flooding as well. If you want to send me a video, the easiest way to do that is mymediamundo@gmail.com. We might be able to provide you guys with a direct link as well. Hopefully our administrator can do that, because we have procured, if you will, a direct link for you guys to send the videos. So right now, send it to mymediamundo@gmail.com. And again, if we have this direct link to share with you guys, we will. Again, winds are just becoming very steady right now in Kingston, 35 to 45 miles an hour, right? These are gusts, but when the number doesn't go away, that means there's been very persistent winds as well. And this storm is doing a little funky business right now. Again, I expect this to fully be only in the short term, but it has almost done a slight loop. Certainly the inner eye structure is becoming a little bit more elliptical and shrinking. So again, this was 6 hours ago, right at 1 o'clock Eastern time, noon on Jamaica. And just over the last, especially a couple of hours, I mean, even 4 o'clock hour, it looked very concentric, and then we've lost a little bit of this. So more than likely, we're beginning an eye wall replacement cycle. You notice how there's much more of an elliptical look to the eye? Still completely cleared out. Now, east to west, it's still nearly 9-10 miles. But instead of being completely concentric, now north to south, it's only about 6. So there is some structural changes going on within this storm right now. But all of that's fairly, all of that is understood to occur at some point in time. These storms can't stay at 175. They're going to go under eye wall replacement cycles every few days. Melissa has yet to do so. So we could be seeing that as we speak. And again, this very erratic motion over the last couple of hours could be a sign of that as well. Now, ultimately, again, how does this affect the overall track down the road? We'll have to see how that plays out, keeping an eye on the models and what the Hurricane Center wants to say. But one thing I can tell you is that, it's agonizingly creeping to the west right now at a couple of miles an hour, which puts the time frame for landfall or wherever the storm wants to go in proximity to Jamaica, just deeper in time on Tuesday, right? If this storm is not making any closer approach right now, we're going to have to keep backing up this time frame a little bit. I certainly believe now landfall is likely to not occur until after daybreak tomorrow, but being on the northeast side of the storm, we'll get the strongest winds and the highest rainfall totals lashing the island, continuing to see the weather go downhill tonight and as we go overnight as well. All right. Friends, I'm going to take my first quick break of the live stream. I'm going to load up a couple of new things for you guys here, but stick around because I've got a lot of different facts for you guys to take a look at here as I take this quick break. And I've got that fantastic music for you guys as well. So I'll be back in just a second.
Looking for endless car wash love? Then sign up for one of our all-inclusive unlimited memberships starting at $9.99. Our unlimited memberships let you wash your car as many times as you want. Go just twice a month and you're already saving money. That's love for your car and your wallet. Sign up today and let the endless love begin.
on the western side of the island. But again, you know, be beginning an inner eye wall a replacement cycle. That being said, Melissa still forecast to move on shore on the western side of Jamaica as either a low-end Cat 5, and that is the official forecast, and winds of around 160 miles an hour, or very high-end Cat 4 early on Tuesday, traversing the island throughout the day on Tuesday, exiting by Tuesday afternoon or evening, and then headed directly to southeast Cuba, which is now also under tropical storm, hurricane warnings as well. And then the hurricane warnings have been extended to include the central and the southeast Bahamas and the western side of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. So Hispaniola, the Haitian side, is going to be under a tropical storm warning at this point. The numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour. So we continue to see the winds just freshen up across the island at this point in time. And that will be the case as we move through the remainder of this late afternoon and into the evening hours here, now 6:15 local time on Jamaica. So we're getting closer to sunset and things like that. And, you know, it's going to be kind of an eerie night, right? You know, potentially we won't have landfall until the daylight hours of our Tuesday. If that does occur, and I'll give you the plausible option of a storm that might move slightly west. But again, that's not what the models are hinting at, and that's not what the Hurricane Center has. We can hope for the best, that there is a slight turn west with this storm before it moves north. But we have to plan for the worst, and that is a direct landfall from a Category 5 hurricane over the island. This is what it looks like on the radar out of Jamaica right now as well. Again, the eye clearly visible at this point in time. Also note as well, and this is a big problem with this storm, is that because it's tracking west of the island and it's south of Jamaica, the strongest part of the storm with the strongest and largest wind field, the heaviest rain, and the extension of that rain is farthest to the north and east of the center, which is exactly where we are in relation to Melissa on the island of Jamaica. So for duration of time to see the most impactful conditions, that's what the island is going to end up getting here, right? And again, just a slow movement of that storm, but hurricane force winds extend 30 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend nearly 200 miles from the center, mainly on the eastern and the northeast quadrants. And of course, again, that is where we are with this storm. So quite impactful and on the wrong side of the storm when it comes to trying to lessen the impacts across the island. Also note again that even a west turn of this storm will keep the island on the bad eastern side for the longest time. So should this track be a little bit more right on the western edge of the island, all of the island is now east of the center or near those core winds. And that's going to be where we have the most significant storm surge with the onshore wind. And that's where the wind profile is going to be most extensive as well. Now, obviously, a little bit farther track west, if that ends up being the case, would be slightly better news for areas from Kingston east, including Portland and St. Thomas parishes. I think the one area of the island I could plausibly see that if the track brushes the western coastline of Hanover and Westmoreland parishes, that the east side of the island doesn't get sustained hurricane winds. They would still get some hurricane gusts, and they would have tropical storm sustained winds up to 73 miles an hour. But there is a opportunity for the eastern side of the island to avoid the most as far as the wind goes. Now, the interesting thing about that, of course, is that the rainfall totals in these areas could be extremely significant, right? To where we could have 15, 25, even 30 plus inches of rain. So you could have 375, 500 millimeters, 675 millimeters of rain during the life of this storm. And it almost looks like now it wants to complete a nice little 360 loop. And just look at that eye right now. How we doing, guys? Everyone doing well? Again, a hurricane warning obviously is still in effect. We know that. Hurricane warning again for Cuba. Hurricane warning Central and Southeast Bahamas. Hurricane watch, tropical storm warning for Turks and Caicos. So hurricane conditions are likely in Cuba late tomorrow and especially on Wednesday. And then hurricane conditions are likely in the Bahamas as we get into later Wednesday and potentially through early on Thursday. Now, Melissa is forecast to accelerate as it moves in that direction. So the timing is going to be accelerated as well through those islands. And the rainfall totals won't be as significant in the Bahamas once it gets into the Atlantic, but we are still looking at 10 to 20 inches of rain in the southeast sides of Cuba with this storm, and maybe even locally up to 25. Evening, guys. Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you tuning in. So slow, agonizingly slow. No movement whatsoever in the last couple of hours. I think this pushes the time frame back even more now, wherever it wants to end up kind of slipping. Now, again, someone was asking about the reconnaissance aircraft. Well, here they are. They are close to the island right now. Let me bring back up our winds too. We'll take a look at that. Again, I'm keeping in constant contact with some of our contacts on the island, making sure that, we understand what they want to try and do, making we understand that, what's plausible and, keeping them safe. We're not asking them to do anything. It's completely up to them. But we want to try, of course, to bring you guys, live pictures or timely video updates from some of these areas. So this is where the hurricane reconnaissance aircraft are right now. Again, it's 7:21 Eastern Daylight Time. So we're watching them on the far northeast side of this storm, right? Winds right now, 30, 35 miles an hour, about 40 here. No strong gusts in the Montego Bay area yet. So they're on the northeast side of the storm. That's what those little purple dots are right now. And there's multiple reconnaissance aircraft that'll be investigating this almost consistently. That's the one we can see their live data from. Power in Port Maria. Okay, that's good. Eating all the emergency snacks. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. We got to save that. Don't be fooled, guys. Okay. Look, again,
used to hearing. And so I had to look it up using AI, of course. And it was recurvature. He said it many times, recurvature. So I had to look it up. It's a change in the path of a tropical cyclone from a generally west to northwest track. So remember, it was going west. And then it moves then to a northeast or eastward track. So that's what recurvature is. So it was going to the west, but now it's going to turn and go towards the east. So thank you very much for teaching me another meteorological term today on all of Jamaica, that term. And so now we are going to go to the other man of the hour, or Minister of Local Government and Community Development, the man who is responsible for disaster response and who does a tremendous job of it. He is nonstop. He is here through the night, all through the day. Minister Mackenzie, I do not know how you do it, but you continue to serve this country, and we're very grateful for it. And so please tell us where we are with everything under your purview.
Thank you, Minister. You have been doing a good job yourself. Acknowledge my colleague who just walked in. There's a fine for being late. And to acknowledge the members of the support team, the JDF, the police, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, the Red Cross, and all the other entities, chairman of the board, members of the media. I want to start off by giving some updates as it relates to the operations of a Jamaica Public Service Company. And as you have been told by Mr. Thompson, that the southern part of the island is experiencing some challenges as we speak. Now, this update that has been provided to our center downstairs, and I want to make the point that all the information that is pertinent to the ongoing hurricane comes directly out of the ODPEM. So when we give the information, it is not hearsay or faked information. It is the information that has been gathered by the team, and each entity. For instance, all the utilities are here, both telephone, water, and light. So when we speak with a certain level of authority. A total of some 50,000 persons are without light in the following parishes as we speak: Portland, St. Thomas, St. Elizabeth, Manchester. Approximately 40,000 persons in the western end of the island are presently without power. And there are 4,000 in the eastern part of the island, and another 5,000 without light in central Jamaica. Transmission lines are out in Magati and Porous as a result of down power lines and poles in some instances. The Jamaica Fire Brigade reports a number of trees in some areas they have received reports, and they have a team out there removing the fallen trees, and with support in some instances from members of the community. You remember earlier this morning, the Prime Minister did indicate that the National Solid Waste Management Authority is on the road, and they are a part of that team island-wide that is helping to remove fallen trees right across the island. The Red Cross reported that at Veer Technical High School, approximately 300 persons are at the shelter, and the concerns that we have is that in short order, I guess by now, the shelter would have reached its maximum capacity, and steps are being made to house persons seeking shelter at a different location. Just want to again remind persons going to our shelters to take your medication, walk with some biscuit for the first couple of hours, some water to make yourselves comfortable. And it is important that your personal documents, important documents, are well secured. The issue of shelters, ladies and gentlemen, Jamaicans, has become more pronounced because during our briefing meeting with the ODPEM and various persons, it was brought to my attention that the new wing of the transitional center at King Street, the Desmond Mackenzie Center. We'll have to activate that because the work of the police and the team on the ground has brought in more persons off the streets in the shelters, and that is very commendable. We are seeing an increase over the last couple of hours of persons responding and have gone into the shelters, which is good, but we still have a few that is still out on the road. I want to address some concerns around shelters that was brought to our attention concerning the Myersville area in Southeast St. Elizabeth, and the fact that complaints were made about those shelters. I want to make it clear, ladies and gentlemen, that the shelters are provided for the needs of those who want to go to the shelters. There are no other considerations that are given when we open the shelters. So I don't want anybody to create the narrative that you have to be aligned one way or the other to access the shelters. And there seems to be some concerns raised about the operations of these shelters. So I want to advise that all the shelters in Southwest St. Elizabeth, the Myersville division, are in operation, and the Southeast, and that they have been provided with the requisite items to afford for the smooth operation of the shelters. We are in constant touch with our shelter managers across the island, and I know, and I want to say this, as soon as the conditions start to deteriorate in certain areas, the difficulty is going to show in making contact in the way that we would want the contact to be made. We have a very effective radio telecommunication system which is manned by the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and that system is up and running. It is a part of the JICA program that the government of Japan and the government of Jamaica has put in and has made us very efficient. And it is a system that the police has tied in, and all the major stakeholders across the country has access to the system. So our shelters are up and running, and I want to say to Jamaicans that I'm encouraging you still, you still have a little window to go into the shelters because it is important. There are also complaints about Ocho-Rios-I. That matter has been dealt with. And I want to thank the many concerned Jamaicans who continue to send me messages about the operations of shelters. And I really want to thank them and say how much it is appreciated. I gave an update this morning on the state of our shelters, and I did indicate that of the 880 shelters, so far 133 shelters are in operation. The shelters are available, but so far only 133 of these shelters are fully operated with persons in there. The parishes of St. Mary, St. Anne, and Hanover are still 3 parishes that have no one in any of the shelters. The shelters in Hanover should be seeing people now, because based on Evans' forecast, places like Lucy, Chester Castle, other areas will face challenges And I want to urge persons in these parishes to get to high ground as quickly as possible. Clarendon continue to lead the way. So far, their numbers are 517, St. Catherine 254, St. Thomas 310, Trelawney 156, Portland 295, St. Elizabeth 182. I guess based on the other information coming in, that we will see an increase in the numbers of Jamaicans going to the shelters. As I said earlier on today, it is anticipated that more than 40 to 50,000 Jamaicans will be evacuated from certain areas, and we are expecting that number to grow. I want to again emphasize the importance of sticking to genuine information. Almost every minute now, there is something out there in social media that has nothing to do with what is taking place. There is concerns that persons who genuinely wants to go to shelters are being convinced by others that it makes no sense that they go to the shelters. And many people have been told that you are safer at home than in our shelters. My first experience of a major hurricane at this level was Matthew in 2016, just shortly after I became the minister. And it was a testing time. Fortunately, Matthew changed course. But over the years, we have developed a system to improve the quality of our shelters. And I will not deny that some of our shelters might not meet the expectations of Jamaicans. I've said it before, the shelters are not a five-star hotel. 90% of our shelters are schools, which were not really built for that purpose. And over the years, we have converted some of our shelters, some of the schools, into proper shelters. And we'll be rolling out over the next couple of years, starting next year, to improve on our shelters, because we are looking at the changes that are taking place in terms of our climate-related issues. And therefore, as a country, as a government, we have to move and we have to make the kind of investment that will ensure that our citizens are comfortable in what we say and will respond to the issues when it arises. So, am I feeling better? Still not feeling better. When I look at Westmoreland, again, here's a parish that flooding is the norm. Now we are expecting excess rainfall, record high rainfall. So it means that flooding will become an issue. There's a community in Westmoreland, McNeil Lands, which for me is a major issue. And if anybody there is listening, I want to urge persons, to encourage you to leave these areas and find a place where you will be safer. It makes no sense. And in closing, I want to, again, as I have been doing since these briefings have started, it is better to take that step than to pay that price. Don't worth it. This government is committed to work with every single Jamaican after the passage of Melissa. to help to restore your way of life, to rebuild. The Prime Minister spoke about the various layers of insurance and coverage that an understanding government has put in place over the last 4 years to secure the Jamaican people. And when we meet after these meetings, we look at the way forward. Already we are starting to look at how are we now going to deal with the level of investigation that needs to be done to deal with the issues that will arise following burial. I want to thank the people who are working, the police, the fire brigade, the army. Level of investigation that needs to be done to deal with the issues that will arise following burial. I want to thank the
Thank you very much, colleague minister. And my apologies for being a little late, but my colleague and friend Desmond Mackenzie understands, and I know he won't charge me. I want to just begin by recognizing my colleagues and other members in the room, the media, and of course the agencies. So a couple of things that re-update. Firstly, I was late because I was on a conference call with the health ministers of the Caribbean region, chaired by the head of CARICOM, who expressed the desire to support, and I gave them an update. And I want to just publicly thank my colleague ministers of health in the Caribbean who have offered to provide support wherever that is needed, including CARFA and CARICOM health ministers. So I got a little delayed because of that conversation. In terms of the updates, health centers remain closed as we had announced, but all hospitals remain open and all are prepared. I have done a number of visits over the past 24 hours or more, visiting some of these institutions, having conversations with the staff, and at the Emergency Control Center in New Kingston, headed by Dr. Dawkins Wright, who is here in the audience. We have had several briefs involved. The hospital heads. And from all that I have seen, we are prepared and ready. There's adequate water storage supplies, adequate food, both for staff and patient, adequate medical supplies, a